Hey, what is up guys? My name is Emiliano. I'm making this video for my busy men and people looking to get into the gym but don't know whether they should do calisthenics or weightlifting. And this comes from pure experience and science-based. This is no bullshit guide, right? I've done both. I've done calisthenics, done weightlifting, started with calisthenics, made good progress, but then eventually jumped over a little bit more to weights, but it doesn't mean that I do both. It doesn't mean that I stop doing one or the other. And before I get into it, I did want to point out that I am looking for 5 busy men who want to be trained one-on-one for free by me for the next 30 days to fast track their progress and get them to the results they want. So just comment the word interested and I'll reach out. Like I said, this is complete no bullshit. This is from experience, from myself and my clients, what has helped them, what has helped me, and pretty much just summing it all up. The thing with the argument between calisthenics and weights is that we gotta firstly take into account goals, right? What is your goal? What are you necessarily looking for? Because for example, myself, just to give you guys a bit of a backstory on myself, I was a kid, I was shy, I started doing calisthenics, it gave me that respect, that confidence that I always looked for, and it was practical, right? I had just built this little workout thingy in my backyard with my brother, or kind of he did it, some push-up bars, pull-up bars, dips, bars, that kind of thing, and it was practical. And my goal, I didn't necessarily have a goal to get bigger, to get stronger, that kind of thing. It just gave me the confidence that I wanted. However, most people, our goal is obviously to look better, feel stronger, and feel better. Now, a big component of looking better and feeling better is the way that we look. And that's where I want to break this down for you guys in the most simplest way as possible. When it comes to calisthenics versus weightlifting, right, a big factor that we got to take into account there is progressive overload. That is the main thing, and that is the main factor which differentiates calisthenics and weightlifting, right? Um, if you don't know what progressive overload is, simply means going harder than last time. And oftentimes, when it comes to looking better and building a good physique that you're actually proud of, this is something that I figured out about a year into my lifting journey with calisthenics, is that you can't really isolate each muscle group as easily with calisthenics as you can with weightlifting, right? For example, the chest, the shoulders, you need some kind of external weight because it just makes it easier for you to progressively overload and actually keep track of how much weight you're lifting, if you're getting stronger, if your form is getting better, that kind of thing. And also hitting smaller muscle groups at once rather than doing, push-ups, pull-ups, which oftentimes are compound movements, which take into account or you need to use multiple muscle groups at once, which makes it hard for you to grow a specific muscle group as you get better and better in your lifting journey. So progressive overload goes completely to weight, right? Oftentimes it is a lot easier because there's a lot of more variety when it comes to machines, cables, right? The way that you can hit a muscle, the way that you can contract a muscle, lengthen a muscle. There's so many different variations when it comes to the gym that just makes it a lot easier to apply progressive overload. And progressive overload is basically king when it comes to muscle building. If you're not applying that, you're basically wasting your time in the gym. However, moving on to my second point, practicality. Why would anyone do calisthenics over weightlifting if their goal is to look better, feel better, right? Well, practicality. You don't have to commute. You don't have to spend time going to the gym. You don't have to, worry about seeing other people or asking them if the machine is available, whatever. When it comes to calisthenics, you just get out, you just do it. You do it in your living room, do it outside, do it in the park, wherever you feel best. And that is what is the beauty about calisthenics, right? That you can still apply progressive overload. Right? I want to expand on the point that I made earlier. It doesn't mean that you can't apply progressive overload, but when it comes to smaller muscle groups, you can't. It is a lot harder for you to isolate them, right? For example, a tricep. You can't really isolate the triceps when it comes to calisthenics unless you add some kind of other equipment like a dip belt or some dumbbells or something like that. Or the lateral raises, right? You can't really train the lateral delt, which is a very, very important muscle when it comes to aesthetics, when it comes to calisthenics. But that's the thing, right? What if you want to have best of both worlds? Well, that is the answer. In conclusion, guys, get best out of both worlds, right? To this day, I've been able to make significant progress, and yes, most of it, I would say that it came from weightlifting because of that simple fact that it's a lot easier to track your progress, a lot easier to progressive overload with external weights, and a lot easier to actually fully contract and stretch and feel a muscle, because you're able to isolate it a lot more with the variety of exercises and machines that you can find in the gym. But that doesn't mean that you should completely knock out one or the other. Each of them have their pros and their cons, and just like I always say, just like Bruce Lee, take what works, throw out what doesn't, and do what works best for you. A lot of us don't have the same amount of time to work out. Sometimes we're in a bit of a time crunch. I sometimes don't have the time to work out, so I'll just hit a workout at home. I'll still get an amazing workout. I'll still get stronger. And on top of that, if you apply best of both worlds, right? Oftentimes we don't realize it, but training muscles in different variations, different angles, different styles, it develops your physique in a different kind of way. I don't care what anyone says, right? Of course, yes, muscles don't know if you're lifting weights or body weight or external weight or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, the angles in which you hit a muscle group and the different exercises, some of them feel better for other people. And if you go back to the basics, you apply both calisthenics training, maybe even combining both of them, doing some kind of weighted calisthenics, kind of like you can see here. That's what's going to give you the best results. So find the balance that works for you. If maybe at some point you're at a point in your life where you can only do calisthenics, only do that. If that's what you enjoy, only do that. If you only enjoy weights, only do that. But if you're someone that is open and you actually want to do something that is optimal for the general population, do both. Apply the same principles, progressive overload. But yeah, the good news is that no matter what, you have the tools and you have the time to make this work. Doesn't matter if you work 10 jobs or if you don't, right? If you have that priority and you truly want it, you can make this work. You have the science. It is not so much about knowing what to do. It is about actually doing it and structuring it around your schedule and your lifestyle. So nobody is the same. There are no two bodies are the same. No two minds are the same. However, if you want to quit the guesswork and you want to skip over all the mistakes, once again, you can train one-on-one with me. Just comment the word interested. I'll reach out and we can get you set up with one-on-one training for free. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.